everyone. This is Guy Set the Seven Football with FPL Rich, and today we're gonna be going over Game Week 30. We had a little international break last week, but we're gonna be going over Game Week 29, how we did, and how we're gonna be lining up for Game Week 30.
Okay, as we talked about in the intro, of course, we're going to be going first over our teams and how we performed on game week 29. Of course, we both of us did a free hit, and pretty much everyone in FPL who did a free hit or who did not do a free hit did pretty bad this week because there were a lot of players that did not do well. Mainly the main players that did well were pretty much all the Fulham players. As you could see, I do have Robertson and I do have Martinez on the bench. The main players on my team that did anything was pretty much just Robertson, and he was on the bench. Everyone else did blank, didn't do much. Spurs, they got trashed by Fulham, and Tony, Wisa, and pretty much Brentford, with Regulon getting a red card within the first 9 minutes, is one of those games where Burnley had everything lined up for a win for them, and pretty much Brentford were down down a man and down a goal within the first 9 minutes. My as That pretty much affected me with my new rank being in the 900,000s, but still within the top 1 million. So hopefully I can rank back up within the next fixtures.
Yes, so now going over how I did on Game Week 29. Not so good either. 21 points. Um, Also had Robinson on the bench with 11 points, Martinez on the bench. Just very bad game week for was betting big on Tottenham players, but they didn't show up. Uh, Son with only 4 points. And then Watkins, not much either, going up against West Ham. For my rank, it really doesn't matter. Went up this week, but I ended up joining late in the season, so really doesn't matter for me.
Okay, so now moving on to the most transferred in player within FPL this week. Of course, we have pretty much the main three, being the main two, of course, being Palmer and Munoz. Of course, Palmer does have a really good fixture this week against Burnley, and if you don't have him in your team, he's a very good transfer to get him in as well. If you don't have him, I don't have him in my team. He's definitely one of those potential future transfers that I do want to get in. Next up, we do have Munoz. He is another player that is in exceptional form for Fulham, and he does have Sheffield United this week, which is a really good fixture for him. Um, and if you're definitely one of those players that if you don't have, for example, money within your team, he's one of those players that definitely can clear up money to get in. Another player that I'm going to be talking about, of course, is Salah, as he is the most transferred in player for this week. As I said before, if you have like a Munoz or a Palmer, if you don't have those two players in, those two players could making way to get in money for Salah, which he is the most transferred in player for this week, and for a reason. He is back, hopefully fully fit, and he is playing up against Brighton this week. So yeah, that's a good fixture, and those are the best three players for this week to transfer in.
Yeah, so now going on to the most transferred out players for FPL. We obviously have Kevin De Bruyne in there. Um, Really isn't affecting us with our teams. We haven't been really playing or have been picking Kevin De Bruyne, but some other players that are definitely getting transferred out, and I will possibly be thinking about is Watkins first. Not sure about this week if I'll be transferring him out, but definitely in the near future, as he is a little pricier player. And considering that I'm gonna need to get some more cash revenue so I could bring in like a Salah now that he's back. Also, Trippier, considering he's kind of in the injury list a little bit, so he's a little concerned there, but also a very expensive defender. Just clearing out that cash again for that Mohamed Salah. And for Rich, I believe he had cleared him out weeks back, so he's clear there. So that's why he's able to get like a Salah.
Now looking on to the best fixtures for game week 30, of course. We have 5 fixtures lined up for this week that we are going to be talking about. Kind of in our opinion, this is all our opinion, the best fixtures for this week. First of all, we do have Liverpool against Brighton. Of course, this being number one because, of course, everyone's transferring Salah in, trying to get him in, trying to take -4s even to get Salah in. And with Liverpool playing against Brighton at home this week, he is definitely a good transfer to bring him in as well, as he also does have a double game week lining up in game week 34 against Fulham and Everton.
Another good fixture that we have here that we consider a good fixture is going to be the Spurs against Luton. Considering that Tottenham's going to be at home, I know they're coming off of that rough loss against was it? I forget.
It was against Fulham.
Fulham, yes, away. Um, it's just still very unclear on how Tottenham is going to play. But considering, I mean, they're going to be at home, um, probably not going to be betting as much on them as I was for that double game week. But I'm gonna see if I could maybe do something to bring in like a Son or someone along those lines. Another fixture that we consider is a good one is definitely that Fulham against Sheffield United. Even though Fulham, I believe, is going to be playing away, they're going to be going against the bottom of the bottom. Basically, Sheffield United that's basically going to be in considering in regulation. Um, and considering, I mean, Fulham has been really been playing very well. Um, they have Munoz, and I believe Sheffield is just getting nailed every game week and isn't doing very well. So that's another one there.
Yeah, now looking on to the last two that we do have here, we of course have Chelsea against Burnley. Nothing else to say. Burnley is also one of those teams that's going to be relegated, possibly relegated this season as well. And Chelsea, of course, is they are. I do believe they are at home for this fixture. So this is a very good fixture for those people that do have a Palmer, for example, or maybe even Andrew Jackson if you're doing like a wild card. I've seen that in some people's teams. Next up, we do have Bournemouth against Everton. This is our last pick, kind of like a 50-50 kind of type of game that could either go for Bournemouth or Everton. Of course, Everton are one of those teams that kind of concede. One of the teams that concede the very least within the Premier League. But of course, Bournemouth are at home, and I do have Dominic Solanke in my team, so hopefully he can score big within this fixture. So now looking on to my FPL transfers for possibly game week 30, my transfer plan for this week, I do have one free transfer and 6.9 in the bank. That was on purpose as I do want to bring in a very good player this week, a very high valued player this week that everyone is pretty much bringing in. I was either debating on either bringing out a Gordon or a Gross for this player, but of course my transfer for this week is going to be Gross to a Salah this week, and the main reason for that is Gordon is looking to be fully fit this week, so hopefully he does play very good minutes this fixture. And also the main reason, of course, I transferred out Gross. Gross is playing against Liverpool away, so and Brian do not have pretty much possibly the best fixtures. As I'm going to be doing the transfer from Gross to Salah, I'm going to be lining up with a 3-5-2 with 0.3 in the bank. But in goal, I do have Areola as he is facing Newcastle this week. A back three of Pedro Porro, Virgil, and Gabriel. Gabriel has a knock to him, but I do believe he is going to be playing against Man City this week, hopefully. Midfield five of Foden, Salah, Gordon, Son, and Garnacho. As I said before, Gordon seems to be fully fit and back in the squad. with my captaincy being on Salah and my vice captaincy being on Son. The reason I do have Salah as my captaincy, even though I do believe Son does have the better fixture, Salah is a bigger differential than Son this week, as more people do have Son in their team, but more people are struggling to bring in Salah with that big price, and that's why he is my captaincy for this week. Um, and my front two of Holland and Solanke. Holland has been, of course, struggling to get in points, but hopefully he's back fully scoring against Arsenal are at home. But who knows? And lastly, we do have Solanke.
Yeah, so now going on to my transfer plan for this week. I also have a free transfer for this week, and I have already 3.7 million in the bank. This week I'm actually the first. I'll just go over the first. I'm actually gonna be doing two transfers, so I'll be taking a -4 hit. But let's just go over the first transfer, and my first transfer is just gonna be kudos for Sun, and um I think this is a good transfer considering Kudus is going to be having tougher fixtures going forward. I know that Tottenham is still a little unclear on how they're going to be playing, but I mean, Son is one of their main players, and I think he'll fit in very well into my team. And then, as I said before, I'm gonna be doing a -4, and this one is a little bit a lot of people wouldn't expect this, but it's a move that I'm planning to do just so I could get ready to like bring in like a Salah, which are those are very big players to have on your team. So I'm gonna be dropping this week. I'm gonna be dropping Holland for Munoz. And like I said, the reason being I just want to get some of that revenue in. And I do see having Munoz for like a longer term. He has a couple good fixtures. Probably like four, like three, four out of the three next game fixtures will be pretty good for him. So even if I don't start him, he'll be like a good bench player to have going forward, and it'll allow me to really bring in like a Salah, um, which I'm actually thinking of doing next week. And I'll actually talk about it a little bit here, but I still don't know exactly who I'm gonna take out for next week, but I'm definitely considering bringing in like a Salah, and then maybe later on bringing back Holland, considering that I mean he's not in the best shape. Let's consider that because he hasn't really been doing as well as last season. But and considering he's going against Arsenal this week, and then I think next week he's going to be going up against Aston Villa. So those are, I mean, pretty tough fixtures. But I am going to be considering bringing him back. And now going on to my lineup for this week, I'm going to do a 3-4-3, and um, with that transfer that I did, it is going to put me at 10 million in reserves. And it's gonna allow me, like I said, to do that Salah next week. But with my lineup, I'm gonna have Areola in goal. He's gonna be going up against Newcastle, and then I have Walker, Udogi, and Virgil, back line of three, and then I have four midfielders with Son, Douglas Luiz, and Phil Foden and Garnacho, and then a three strikers at up top with Darwin Nunez, Munoz, and Watkins. And I am gonna be benching Kai Havertz this week. Um, I just think this fixture with City this week, I see. maybe like a Phil Foden being more of a threat, bringing in more points than Kai Havertz. Um, so that's the reason I subbed him out. And considering, I mean, for Munoz, I put him in. He's been doing very well. I think the last 7 games he scored. I know he's probably gonna be sharing minutes with Raul Jimenez now that he's back. But I'm hoping that he'll get a goal in there. And like I said, he'll be a player that I'll more than likely keep um, for a longer term, just because he'll be a good player to like keep in the bench um, for like certain game weeks and put him in whenever needed, whenever he has a good fixture.
So lastly, let's move on to our game week 30 predictions that we do have lined up for this week, of course, that we do every week. First, let's start off with me. Newcastle, of course, against West Ham is going to be the first game for this game week. Newcastle are at home for this one, and with Newcastle, of course, being at home, I'm predicting a 2-1 win for Newcastle. Tough fixture, but hopefully they'll probably get by with this week.
Newcastle, West Ham. I have this being a draw, 1-1.
Now moving on to the next game that we do have lined up here, we do have Bournemouth against Everton. For this week, I do believe Bournemouth are at home, and hopefully Solanke can score some goals. But as I said before, Everton are a very tough side to kind of score past. I do believe they do have a very good amount of clean sheets. So, but I do predict a tie for this game week, a 2-2.
So for this fixture, I have Bournemouth winning 2-1.
Next up, we do have Chelsea against Burnley. Chelsea are at home this week against Burnley. Of course, if you have Chelsea players like a Palmer, a very good choice to have in your team. Unfortunately, both of us we don't have any Chelsea players, but we are looking into bringing some of those in for for our future transfers. But given that Chelsea are at home against Burnley this week, I'm predicting a 3-1 win for Chelsea.
Yeah, definitely having like a Cole Palmer um being like a star player for their team this year. Um I kind of did want to bring him in, but I mean, considering my lineup for my team, it's logical not to bring him in anytime soon. But I also for this game week I have Chelsea winning this one 3-1.
Now moving on to Forest against Crystal Palace. Forest are at home for this game week. Forest and Crystal Palace are one of those teams that are pretty much fighting for relegation. Of course, with Forest getting that -4 points that they did get deducted within the within Premier League. It's one of those teams that I do believe are going to be fighting to stay out the relegation zone, and I do believe they're going to be beating Crystal Palace this week 1-0.
Yeah, definitely those that negative 4 point hit I think put them into the regulation. They were just out of it. But definitely two teams that are going to be fighting for regulation. I think um, I think Nottingham Forest is going to win 2-1 and put a little like a little fight with Crystal Palace.
So now moving on to Sheffield United against Fulham. Of course, another good fixture if you have Fulham players within your team. But Sheffield United are at home for this fixture. But as last week it did happen, Fulham did destroy Spurs last week, and I do believe they're going to continue on with that good form, and they're going to be beating Sheffield United, in my opinion, 1-2 to Fulham.
For this one, I just don't see Sheffield winning this one, even if they're going to be at home. I They got I believe, like a goal difference of -50, with like 24 goals for, and then negative, or sorry, 74 against. So puts them at negative 50. Fulham have been playing very well with Munoz. That's why I brought in Munoz. And I think Fulham is just going to win this one 2-0 away.
Now moving on to Tottenham against Luton. Of course, Spurs are fighting for that top four spot, and Luton are fighting to get away from that relegation zone. Um, it's one of those fixtures where if Luton were at home, I would have given Luton more of a benefit of the doubt. But of course, Spurs this time are at home, and if you do have some Spurs assets, it's definitely very good. For example, the captain's son, if you have him. But I do believe Tottenham are going to be winning this game 3-1.
Yes, I actually did forget to mention that I will also be captaining Son. Um, and I think for this one, I think with Tottenham playing at home, it's just gonna be a difference. And I have them winning 3-1.
Now moving on to Aston Villa against Wolves. Aston Villa, I do believe, are at home this week against Wolves. In my opinion, it's one of those games where Wolves are a good side, but I do believe He-Chan is probably. I do believe He-Chan is back. I don't really know, but um, definitely a good fixture for Aston Villa. I'm not gonna say that, but of course, Wolves are one of those teams that are a very good side and can definitely put up a fight against Aston Villa. Of course, Aston Villa are within the top four right now, and they definitely want to keep that. But I do believe it's going to be a tie within these two, given a 1-1.
Yeah, I definitely agree that if Wolves has their day that day against Aston Villa, it'll definitely be like a good game. I just don't think it's going to be enough considering that Aston Villa is going to be playing at home, and that's when you'll see them to be a little bit stronger than when they play away. For that reason, I'm gonna take Aston Villa winning this one 2-1.
Now moving on to Brentford against United. Of course, Man United are fighting to get also within that top four. They're pretty close, but and Brentford are actually also fighting to get away from the relegation zone. Two teams have something to fight for, but I do believe when Man United are on their A game, they will win this game 2-1.
Yeah, I think for Man U coming off of that very good win against Liverpool in the FA, is going to be a huge booster for them in confidence, in terms of confidence. Um, and I think this one, I'm gonna give them like a good. They're gonna go on a good streak, at least like a two game winning streak. I'm not sure who they're playing exactly next week, but I think they're gonna win this one 2-1 this week.
Now moving on to Liverpool against Brighton. Of course, if you have a Salah, it's definitely a very good game to play him in, as well as Liverpool are at home this week, and Liverpool are of course fighting for that Premier League title. They are joint top with Arsenal, and I do believe if they want to stay fighting for the title, they definitely have to beat Brighton this week, and I do believe that will happen. Liverpool winning 3-1.
Yeah, I think Liverpool is gonna pull up this week. They're gonna win this one 2-0 against Brighton at home.
And of course, last but not least, we do have the best, probably the best game for this week. We do have Man City against Arsenal. Arsenal right now are joint top with Liverpool in the number one position, and Man City are at 63 points in third. It's going to be one of those games where anything can happen, but of course, City are at home for this fixture, and I do believe City are a very good side. Um, I do believe City will end up winning this game, but who knows? Anything can happen, like I said. But I do believe City will win this game 2-1.
Yeah, I let's just hope that Arsenal doesn't drop the ball like last year. This one's definitely gonna be very decisive. I do see this Arsenal team though being a little bit stronger than last year. Um, but it's going to be a very tough game considering that they're going to be playing away at City. Um, but for this game, it's not the same City as last year as well. Um, I just think this is going to be a draw, and Arsenal's gonna they're gonna considering that considering that I think that Liverpool's gonna win their game, and Arsenal's gonna tie. I think they're gonna probably drop into second with this draw, and Liverpool's gonna take first.
These are all our predicted scores for this week. My scores being in the left with the dark blue, and my and Gaiasieta's being on the right with the dark red. And we do want to do a challenge moving on to the next videos that we do want to do, where whoever gets the most predicted scores correctly is probably gonna avoid the challenge. Who of course whoever gets the least predicted points or predicted scores for the next week is gonna have to do a challenge. We don't know what the challenge is for next week. We'll have to think about that, but we'll definitely try to do those for our next videos that we do have. But that is all that we do have for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you all on game week 31.